top US general has now announced that the Ukraine has finally won against Russia, although he seems to have forgotten about informing the commander-in-chief, as President Biden has just pledged to provide another $500 million more of our taxpayer money to the Ukraine. Doesn't sound like much of a victory if more money is needed though, right? Now that reminds me, aren't we worried about the debt limit, or have we just completely forgotten all about that with other crises? The president thought that this donation was far too important that he told Ukraine President Zelensky in person. While he made this visit, many are now wondering when he plans to visit Ohio and what kind of message that this is sending to Americans. The message to Putin is clear though. The United States president is all in for the Ukraine, and you best believe that he's going to be doing something about it. Now, on the same note, former President Donald Trump is also going to do something that no one expected, and that is to visit Ohio before President Biden. Were you guys aware that at least one of the explosions from the train wreck was intentional? That's not good news. And it's also unsettling to know that a metal plant there suffered from an explosion of unknown origin just recently. What do you guys think happened with that one? Oh, let me guess. This was just another coincidence. We have a lot to talk about today, so stick around until the end to get all of the information that you guys need. Now, before I continue though, please take a second, smash the like button for the video. And if you're in need of your daily dose of the truth when it comes to the state of our economy, social security, SSI, SSDI, global happenings, the housing market, stock market updates, and everything that's really going on in Washington, D.C. that affects our lives, our families, and our bank accounts, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you own a home, make sure your home is protected. Get your free home warranty quote. There's a link in the description down below, guys. Quote, America has paid all of its bills on time since 1789, and not to do so would produce an economic and financial catastrophe. And every responsible member of Congress must agree to raise the debt ceiling, end quote. This is what Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said early in February, and it sounded, at least at the time, like the debt ceiling was a huge concern for the Biden administration. Well, not enough to hold back the president from pledging almost $500 million more to the country of the Ukraine. Now, in a historic visit, President Joseph Robinette Biden, he made his way to Ukraine to tell Zelensky in person that our entire country is behind them.
The world was literally at the time bracing for the fall of Kyiv. Seems like a lot longer ago than a year, but think back to that year. Perhaps even the end of Ukraine. You know, 1 year later, Kyiv stands, and Ukraine stands. Democracy stands. The Americans stand with you, and the world stands with you.
The visit was so secretive that the president only brought along 3 of his aides, 2 reporters sworn to secrecy, and even went so far as to put up his fake schedule as he made his way there. There was an instance where both presidents were walking as a siren blared in the background. It looked like a Hollywood movie, as some say that the 2 looked unfazed as danger may have been up in the skies. Others say that they actually looked confident since they actually knew that the sirens were mostly for show. All in all, the president endured a 20-hour flight to get to Kiev, and it's apparent that Ukraine is one of his top priorities, not the American people. And of course, since we're talking about flight times, were you aware that it takes approximately 56 minutes to fly from DC to Ohio? We'll talk about that a little bit more, but I just felt like I should let you guys know. Now, pivoting from that, Russian President Vladimir Putin in his State of the Nation address pinned the blame on both the West and the Ukraine for the war that they're in now. He said, quote, "We had no doubt that by February 2022, everything was prepared for a punitive action in Donbas, where the Kiev regime provided artillery and aviation and other weapons to attack Donbas in 2014. In 2015, they attempted again to directly attack Donbas. They continued shelling terror. All of this was completely against the documents that were accepted by the United Nations Security Council. I would like to repeat, they started the war, and we used the force in order to stop it," end quote. Putin is obviously not happy with President Biden's visit, and it may just be a matter of time until more missile attacks rain down on Ukraine. It's obvious that the war rages on, and that's why the recent comments from General Mark Milley have a lot of us confused. Watch this.
NATO and this coalition has never been stronger, and Russia is now a global pariah, and the world remains inspired by Ukrainian bravery and resilience. In short, Russia has lost. They've lost strategically, operationally, and tactically, and they are paying an enormous price on the battlefield.
Guess someone forgot to tell Putin that they've already lost. In a trip that isn't shrouded in secrecy, former President Donald Trump has announced a planned visit to East Palestine, Ohio. Wow. Now, to date, both President Biden and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg have not announced any plans to go there, although Buttigieg continues to talk about their efforts in the area. In a post from Trump's Truth Social account, quote, Biden and FEMA said that they would not be sending federal aid to East Palestine. As soon as I announced that I'm going, he announced a team will go. Hopefully he will also be there. Hopefully this is good news because we got them to move. The people of East Palestine need help, end quote. His son, Trump Jr., took to Twitter to discuss the difference between the former and the current president. Quote, if our leaders are too afraid to actually lead, real leaders will step up and fill the void, end quote. In a related update, it's now come out that crews in Ohio began to release hazardous chemicals from 5 cars of the train after fearing of an even bigger explosion a few days after the train initially derailed. They called it a controlled explosion, and well, this is what it looked like. Pennsylvania's emergency management agency said this, quote, we know the smoke looked alarming, but we were being told that everything was carried out according to plan, end quote. Wow, according to plan. Well, if that went according to plan, I would hate to see what would happen if the plan failed. Ohio cannot seem to catch a break as another explosion in one of their factories scattered debris, which killed 1 person and injured at least a dozen more. The I. Schumann and Company metal plant rained down molten metal on buildings, neighboring buildings, and to date, they're not sure as to what may have caused the explosion. This happened around 70 miles from the train derailment in East Palestine, and it's unfortunate that they're all going through this right now. Praying for the recovery of everyone involved, and very sorry to hear for your losses. It is honestly unbelievable that we haven't heard much from the federal government regarding all of this, and at times it kind of feels like they value those who are overseas much more than they value Americans here at home. It really makes you realize that it's up to us to help each other during these times, and this is exactly why I have our Patreon community group, link in the description down below, because I want to talk to you guys. And if you are one of the countless people who want to get back to, some semblance of financial freedom, there's some things that we can talk about. One of them is budgeting. Another is money-making opportunities. It can be through small businesses or side hustles. We can even talk about wise investments in the stock market, real estate. But at the end of the day, I just want us all to be able to get back to normal. Now, before I go, please don't forget to drop a thumbs up for the video. Also subscribe to the channel for your daily dose of the truth. I appreciate you guys watching. Please be kind to one another, and I'll see you in the next video.